Picture It, Los Angeles, 2024.
Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you ever need to listen to. I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty, and today we're doing a Beyond Golden Girls episode where we cover the many film and TV projects that the women did outside of the Golden Girls during the course of their illustrious careers. And today we are picking up right where we left off last week with part 2 of Mama's Family, The Wedding, where Betty White and Rue McClanahan shine, but I think we can all agree that Carol Burnett, by design, steals the show.
Just the way she says blood in this episode. Oh my God. Oh my God. I do have a few things to say up top from last week about, because last week we did the part 1 of this Mama's Family episode. And first off, I want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out and like commented on our posts and like did all the things, because so many of you enjoy Mama's Family. Like, there was so much love for Mama's Family in the comments and DMs and everything on the Patreon. Like, it is wild. So thank you all for reaching out and saying those things, because I was legitimately concerned that people weren't going to be as into Mama's Family as I am, which I'm so glad to be wrong on that. People are just as much into it.
I'm glad that there are listeners of the podcast and Golden Girls fans who were able to represent the Mama's Family fandom as well, because you obviously represent it very hard and you're very passionate about it, whereas I had not yet dipped my Tootsie into the Mama's Family pond. And I'm so glad that I have, and that now I can just binge all of it because I'm hooked.
So I did say something incorrect last week because obviously I have not, because the Carol Burnett show episodes are hard to get. But so Betty White did appear on the Carol Burnett show, and she was in a few Mama's Family sketches or the family sketches on the Carol Burnett show. And she was even in the TV movie Eunice, which was like a full-on TV. Well, I mean, I don't really know what it was like. We should watch it because Betty White's in it, so we should just watch it for the pod sometime. But there was a whole TV movie called Eunice. I have not seen it, so I can't give information on what it's about. But from some of the DMs that I've seen, I think Mama dies in Eunice. I think, which Eunice precurses Mama's Family. So obviously it's like in its own universe. It's not, Mama's Family is not like a Marvel movie, y'all. Things are going to be different.
Well, it's like change. Star Wars. They all take place out of order and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so, but Betty White is in, but Rue McClanahan, I don't believe, is in Eunice. So Rue McClanahan was for the television series, whereas Betty White played Ellen, I believe, in Eunice. Which, do you want us to watch Eunice? Let us know. Maybe we should go back and watch some of those old Carol Burnett moments with some of the girls too, because I'm sure maybe B. Arthur was on Carol Burnett's show at some point. I mean, it had so many guest stars. Like, I'm sure we know Betty White was on, so we should watch a Carol Burnett episode with Betty White.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do a deeper dive into Carol Burnett, and obviously the Golden Girls connections that are there must be talked about.
Oh, wow, there's probably a lot.
There's got to be so many. Before we dive in, today, if you're in the GGVIP club and you're getting another Rusty Anchor happy hour, we're actually, to go back to what H. Alan just said about the correction to Mama's Family, we're reading recent comments that you have all left on our Patreon page. In the past couple days, I feel like we've gotten some really fun either corrections about stuff that we've done, really fun inside stories about, oh, here's my experience with that thing that you guys just talked about. We just know that the comment section on Patreon has been awesome lately. So we're going to read some of them and then just kind of chat about our weeks. I've had a crazy week. I don't know about you.
Same. Oh my God, same. But about the Patreon and the comments and the connections and the messages that we get on Patreon, they give me so much life. Like, it's what we've always said about this podcast, in that, like, you know, you and I are just sort of the vessels in which start the conversation around sort of this GG love that we have, and it expands into lots of other things that we love too, like other projects the girls did, et cetera, et cetera. But we just kind of created this little community for people to sort of be a part of this party that we're throwing with GG Love. And the Patreon is such a beautiful little extension of that, because of the comments and the messages that people send us. And so often, because you guys know I'm not I stress out with frequent communication, but I do see the messages and I see they get delivered into my email box and then I screenshot them. This is so old school. I screenshot them and I text them to Kerri and I'm being like, isn't this cute? We should talk about this. I love this one from Jeffrey or whatever it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are so many little messages and things that we get that then I send to you to
I know,
actually
and then
respond
I
to
right
because I
back,
can't.
and I love responding, and I also will sometimes send you the responses. But it's so funny every time you text me, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I already saw that one because I check Patreon 100 times a day because I have like we have a new comment. Like I get so excited to chat with everybody.
It's so lovely because I don't email does stress me out, which it stresses everybody out. But I also have like, like a lot of like cancer bills and like all those kind of emails that you get that are just like stress. So email is particularly hard for me at times. And so I don't check them for days sometimes. And I'll then, when I do get up the gumption to go through my email and delete stuff, whenever I see the Patreon email of like a message we received or a comment we received, I'm not triggered by it because it's always like, well, I know the 4 emails before it were horrible, but that email that says Patreon, that's going to be a fun comment. That's going to make me happy. That's going to make my day.
Yeah.
And
so
that brings me joy.
I'm so glad. It brings me so much joy as well. So we're really looking forward to reading those. Oh, keep commenting because you all are so great. And if you are not a part of the GGVIP club and you want to join, go to patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. It's free to create an account, but you get most of the bonus content at the $5 and $8 a month tiers. I'm schwitzing. I'm schwitzing. I'm very warm in my closet right now.
Schwitzing.
I need to take my shirt off.
Schwitzing.
My cardigan
You're
off.
schwitzing.
Can you read?
And I mean, another.
Can you read
what
my
does
shirt?
it say? What does it say? No, what does it say?
I want to see if you read it because now we post YouTube. We post these on YouTube, so I wanted to have something visual for tonight. I want to see if you
sit
can
up straight so I
shirt.
can see the full thing. Wait, okay. So I see. Oh God. Joan, waste your toy money. You're all reading the voice in. I can't see the side of it. Inside my Ed.
So there are some people that halfway through that were laughing because they know exactly what this is. So this T-shirt, my brother got me this. It is for you Blink-182 fans out there. I go old school. I go back to Buddha.
Yeah.
The way that Tom DeLonge sings, this is the phonetically written lyrics of Miss You by Blink-182. So what it actually says is... Hold on. I'm trying to be by my microphone. So the lyric is, don't waste your time on me. I'm already the voice and you're already the voice inside my head. But the way he sings, he goes, don't waste your time on me. I'm already the voice inside my head. So that's why it's written phonetically. And my brother got it for me.
Our friend, past guest on this podcast, Sam Kiefer, is a big Blink-182 fan. I don't know much about. I mean, he's going to love that shirt. I don't know much about Blink-182, though. Weren't they the naked band? Weren't they always naked?
They were naked in a music video. Yes, one of their music videos, But
they weren't like naked a lot or anything. It was just that one video they were naked.
No, yeah, they were just naked in the video. Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing, but okay.
And then they had an album called Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but it was JACKET. Huh?
Oh, because of got it. Yeah, but it's
Wink.
like a play on words, and that I support. I appreciate that Blink-182. Yeah. Also, isn't the Kardashian married to Blink-182 guy?
Yes.
Isn't he? Now you and I differ on this, and this is going to be polarizing for listeners. I know, and we should ask what we think the girls who would love the Kardashians of the girls. We know. We know Michael's giving me a face
Michael
here.
Wang
Just text me. I can't see you. Yeah. So the wait, is it
Travis Barker, who's the drummer?
Travis Barker,
is married to one of them.
Is married to Kourtney, and she is my least favorite of the Kardashians. I am a Khloe girl through and through. That is who I love. I support Kim. Well, I don't support Kim, but I enjoy Kim. But my ultimate Kardashian isn't even a Kardashian. It's Kris Jenner.
I Here's my frame of reference for Kris Jenner. Documentaries about O.J. Simpson and the
Oh, that's
murders
all.
of Nicole Brown Simpson
Oh,
and Ron.
oh,
Yeah, that's my frame
yes.
of
I mean,
reference
that's
because
true.
I've
I mean,
never watched
that's
the
a frame.
show.
Wow, that's surprising. You'll watch that show about the Vanderpumps, but you won't watch a
Yes, I will.
Kardashian?
No, and I've never watched The Real
Interesting.
Housewives. I know. I know.
Shocking. Shocking. Well, okay, so
I
of
know.
the
Sign me up for a
girls,
study. I'm weird.
I know. Of the girls, oh, I think you should. Of the girls,
Sleep study.
I think that Rue or Blanche would love the Kardashians. The Blanche would be signing up. Blanche would be wearing Skims. Blanche would be all about the Skims.
100%.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Rose would not have really any clue anything about the girls or about the Kardashians. I don't think she would be as
I think that
in
Rose would
tune.
think that they're runners because people are always trying to keep up with them. So she's like, oh, they must be competitive runners and people are always trying to keep up with them. They're fast. Maybe they're
I
mob
see that.
walkers.
I see that.
I think that's what Rose would think.
I do think that Dorothy would say she's not a Kardashian fan, but it would be like her gambling addiction or her smoking addiction, and she would secretly be watching it. And then Sophia, who of course is a fan because she's so tuned into everything. I mean, she was watching porn before the girls. That she would know a lot about the Kardashians and then trick Dorothy at the breakfast table with a question related to the Kardashians. And of course, Dorothy's going to answer it because she's going to be all coy about it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to entrap Dorothy into revealing that she is, in fact, a Kardashian fan.
I think that is actually incredibly accurate. I think that's very accurate. I could also see Dorothy up late turning on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And then when somebody comes out, she like switches it to porn. To be like, no, she switches it. Watching.
She switches it to Real Sex, as we know that B. Arthur.
Yes. You do know that B. Arthur watched Real Sex with Marsha Posner-Williams. You have to listen to our bonus episode on the Patreon.
That's right. We know that B. Arthur loved that Real Sex episode with Marsha Posner-Williams. I love wondering what the girls would be like into randomly with modern television and stuff. We do this a lot, and we didn't used to do it, but we do it a lot recently, and I kind of love it because it's so fun to be like, which one would love Oprah? Which one would watch the Kardashians? Like, it's fun. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of, just to go back to Vanderpump Rules, I'm going to tease it. We're having a guest on an upcoming episode who is in the Pump universe. And
in the Pump universe.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm just going to, because we're friends here, I'm just going to say it. So before we got on the episode, I had to confess to Kerri that I'm being vulnerable and I'm being raw in this episode because I did not put on any makeup. And if you're listening to this doesn't matter to you. It doesn't pertain to you. I am a beautiful specimen that you are just listening to, and I sound gorgeous. But if you're watching the video, I have nothing on because, as we've discussed on the Patreon, I was considering. I am wearing clothes. Yes, I am clothed. But as I discussed on the Patreon for a minute there, I was considering going to get back alley Botox, and I have decided not to get back alley Botox, and instead I went to a reputable place and I got some pumpage. Speaking of the Pump universe, I got a little pumpage.
Way to bring it full circle. Yes. Well, I think you look great, and you're funny, and your radiant personality and smile is shining through. And I'm so glad, and I'm sure the rest of a lot of people on Patreon who begged you not to get back alley Botox are really happy that you didn't.
Thank you. Well, and so, yeah, I can't put on any makeup because I just got a bunch of needles in my forehead and I have to wait 24 hours. So this is the real me you're seeing if you're watching this on Patreon or YouTube. This is the real me, and be gentle.
HAlan is being very vulnerable right now, you guys. I think we should take a break and give them a little bit of space to maybe sip on some tea.
This is my AIDS episode.
Let's come right back. Talk about Mama's family. And we are back talking about part 2 of the wedding episode of season 1 of Mama's Family.
I need to start this off.
Do you want to tell everybody where we left off?
Oh, where we left off. Oh, well, we left off at you go where we left off because I have to grab a prop here real quick. So you describe that.
All right. Well, I was asking you because I don't remember. No, I think at the end of the last episode, they were getting ready for the wedding, but the wedding hadn't yet happened. Why the wedding happens in this episode. There.
Yes.
That's as far as I've gotten. I I one thing I have learned from watching last week's episode and this week's episode is that Ellen, when it came to Mama's kids, Ellen was
Mm-hmm.
clearly the favorite growing up. Vinton, I think, was just always like off doing his own thing.
He was the boy.
And Eunice, he's the boy. And
Yeah.
Eunice is bitter. She always feels like she has to compete with Ellen. She was the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
And I
She kind of has the
suddenly
middle child
I
syndrome.
understood
You know what
her.
I mean?
That's
There
me.
was, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of a middle child too, in that like I'm not the oldest, I'm not the youngest, because there's four of us in my immediate family. So like, and of all of us, because of my family structure, my oldest brother had cerebral palsy, so he obviously had special needs, so he took more attention from my mom. And then in that case, I was literally the middle child of my older brother and my younger brother. So I relate. I relate. Although I will say, I never had any trouble standing out.
Did you ever crash someone's wedding and demand to sing like Eunice did?
I mean, I do. There is something about her hustle to sing at this wedding that I fucking loved. I loved
It
how hard
was
she
a
went. She
hustle.
hustled like a great performer does when you need to get the job done. But well, we'll get to it, but then she
I
fucked it up. She
know.
fucked it up
I know.
beautifully in the best of ways that
Beautifully.
only Carol Burnett could. But we need to talk about the start of this episode because there's
Right.
something that happened at the start of this episode that is near and dear to my heart that we've talked about a lot on this podcast from way back in the day, going back 10 years to when we first started this podcast. I feel like I talked about this passion of mine, right?
Yes.
And that
Oh, I mean, you texted me earlier
yeah.
to tell me how excited you were to talk about your passion.
So at the beginning of this episode of Mama's Family, the wedding part two, Mama is getting ready for all of the guests that are going to be coming over, and she has her hair set, she has her head little thing on with the Kirk curlers set, and she's in her nightgown and robe and stuff, and she's vacuuming. And as Vinton and Naomi are all whispering sweet nothings to each other because they're just about to get married and they're so in love, and Mama is just like, I got things to do, call it off, call it off, call it off, which was one of
I
my
loved that.
favorite moments ever, which is basically me whenever I have to leave and do anything. Even tonight when we were arranging with our friend Naomi about coming, like leaving or coming tonight, if when we were going to hang out, and both of Michael and I were like, "No, she should come over here. We're not going to go anywhere. No, we're not going anywhere. Call it off. Call it off. Call it off." Anyway, Mama is vacuuming, and you all know how much I love vacuuming. Oh my god. I have such a passion for vacuuming that I have a Dyson. I have this Dyson here, and it is the best
Ooh, it
thing.
matches my bubbly. I grabbed my bubbly at the same time. Sorry, they're both
Oh
purple. Go on.
wow. Yes, I love this Dyson. This, if you're watching the video, you're seeing me with my Dyson, and it's essentially a love story. So I spent nearly $1,000 on a vacuum of my own money. There was no sponsorship involved. There was no gifting involved. It was my money on a payment plan. And it was worth it on so many levels because when I press this little button, oh, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Hold on, let me do it again. Oh, don't you just love that?
Is that bare floor mode or rug?
Oh no, that's just the suction mode, but it's on medium, and it has this little like oh
Ooh,
my god, that's you hear that sound, right? And that's the
yeah.
sound of performance. That's the sound of someone who loves to vacuum. And when I use this little baby, this little Dyson, my lover, on these hardwood floors that we have, and it sucks up all of that dust and that hair and that stuff on the ground, it's so satisfying. And I just want to say thank you for giving me this moment to love my Dyson publicly.
For those not watching on the video, which I highly recommend you do at this point, The way that you were cradling that Dyson
Oh,
to your cheek,
what is
I
it
could
about?
sense the genuine love and care for that Dyson, for
Well,
that
and
$10,000 vacuum cleaner.
it made me. Let's just make it. It's a Seinfeld episode. Let's make it by the end of this episode hundreds of thousands of dollars. This
Oh,
vacuum cleaner.
Stan and I have a
Um,
runner. I'm going to tell you a story right now. Then we're going to get into Mama's family. I should save this for the Rusty Anchor happy hour, but no, I'm not going to. I'm going to say it here and now. Stan and I decided we were getting a new couch.
Oh,
We
we're
were
doing
like, you
that
know
too.
what?
We need to do that. Yes.
HD Buttercup, but go on like pick a sale day.
Okay.
We decided we're going to go on, it's like Labor Day weekend or whatever, to HD Buttercup to get a couch.
Yeah.
And we were like, you know what? We've never we own like $12 sunglasses from Target. We never ever buy nice things. We own all hand-me-down mugs and dishes and stuff. We were like,
Wow.
we're both working right now. We're going to get ourselves a nice couch. So we buy a leather. I'm so sorry. I love animals. I know Betty White would hate me for this. I know.
I want a leather couch too. I do.
Bought a leather couch. And it's an L-shaped sectional. And it was, I want to say like $3,500. It's the biggest purchase we've ever made in our entire life. Now,
Wow.
I'm going to tell you this because I wish somebody had told me. We bought this couch. We bring it home. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Our dog.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring up
pisses
the pet. Yeah.
on the couch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Constantly.
Because of the leather,
and it's
right?
really hard. Doesn't smell. It stains. It looks like a watermark. So, I mean, we had the couch, I think, 4 days when he took his first giant piss on the leather couch. So every time he does it, the number goes up. He pisses on it and we're like, Jesus Christ, this was an $80,000 couch. And it goes up. It goes up every time. I think it's up to like a $4 million couch.
That's amazing.
He's pissed on it so many times. Little Oreo has put like jelly fingers on it.
Of course.
She scuffs it with her toys. We're just like, well, it was a beautiful couch for a day. I mean, it's lived in. We can never sell it.
No, of course not. But to me, a couch is meant to be abused and like torn apart. That is sort of always been my idea of a couch. That said, I know,
and I know, and that's why we shouldn't spend so much money on one.
Well, sure, but it's still, if it's comfortable and it's happy and it makes everyone good, then you're good. I want a leather couch because apparently cats don't scratch leather couches. I could be wrong on that. That could just be a myth, but I
wouldn't want to test that. I wouldn't want to test that theory. Okay, we got to get back into Mama's family. I was the one that I really took us off the road here. I'm going to get us back on track. And
I took us off the road too. I took us off the road too. So yeah, so the vacuuming, and then Naomi is going to get. Mama had to use those little bags, the old school bags you used in vacuum cleaners, and Naomi, she ran out of bags, and so she's stressing about not being able to finish her vacuuming, which I don't have to worry about with my $4 million Dyson.
There you go.
But so Naomi, her future daughter-in-law, is going to bring her one of her vacuum bags.
In this moment too, I really felt like I got to know the sort of hard outer shell and sort of soft M&M center vibe that Mama has going on, because like you said, when she was vacuuming, she keeps making all these smart-ass comments to Vinton about how he should just call off the wedding to Naomi. But then she goes and gives him his dad's old sapphire ring, as like, and she's like, but then buys it back immediately with like, well, it was just sitting around collecting dust. But she was showing that sort of loving.
That is Mama too. And what I will say is that over the course, if you do genuinely want to like invest in Mama's family and watch how this relationship develops, there is a beautiful, I don't believe it's it might be the last episode, where Naomi gives birth. And there is like a really touching sort of like, these two characters, they weren't supposed to be friends. They weren't supposed to be allies. And then they become allies in the end in a funny, silly way. And And I love that how that relationship just builds over the years. And I mean, Naomi gets into crazy, crazy territory. But when the show gets into syndication and they can do anything they want, oh my God, the show goes in wonderful, crazy areas. And it's just so fun to watch them become and to see that vulnerable side of Mama. But Mama always has that vulnerable side to her. There's always that loving. We see it in this episode at the end when it's just her and Fran, but like it's there. It's just you have to get through the like you said, the tough M&M outer layer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Mama is, you can tell, like, knowing that this wedding is probably going to end up being a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
She, like, pulls Eunice aside, who shows up with chili dogs, which I loved.
How she read in People magazine that I actually made a note of this, and I don't make many notes. Let me just say, I do make some notes, but I usually leave notes to Kerri because I'm a fly off the seat of my pants kind of gal. But I made a note about the chili dogs and Pia Zadora because Eunice read in People magazine that chili dogs was just the talk of the town of Hollywood, all the celebrities eating chili dogs. And she brings up Pia Zadora. I love that Pia Zadora. Do you know anything about Pia Zadora?
So, I was going to say Pia Zadora. There was a Golden Girls joke about Pia Zadora as well, right?
What was the Golden Girls joke? I don't
Oh,
know that one. I
we're
do
both going
think
to
there
be
was one.
Googling.
Yes. No, but
Yeah.
there was a moment, a very controversial moment in the early 1980s. So Golden Pia Zadora was an actress in like the late 70s, early 80s, and she did a bunch of things and stuff. But she also potentially ruined the Golden Globes for the 1980s completely when she was nominated for most promising newcomer or something. I think it was the category they used to have, or Star of Tomorrow, or they had a category like that where it was sort of like an award for younger stars. And her husband at the time, who I think was like some millionaire gazillionaire or something, essentially lobbied the Golden Globes committee to like paid them essentially to give her the award. And because of that, there was so much controversy around that she was able to keep her award, but the Golden Globes weren't televised, I think, for like years. And it was like a 10-year hiatus of the Golden
Oof.
Globes where no one cared about the Golden Globes. And it was a whole thing. It really ruined the Golden Globes. So, I mean, Golden Globes just recently had that too with all the drama they were in these past couple of years. So, Golden Globes has a history of drama, but Pia Zadora is a part of that drama, and I love that she was a part of this episode and that joke on the Golden Girls.
Well, I thought it was a joke on the Golden Girls or the Golden Palace. I just Googled it. It didn't come up. I know that we
Mm,
have talked about Pia Zadora on this podcast before, so maybe it was a
we
Beyond
have, I'm
Golden
sure.
Girls where we
Leave it in the
watched another one of the
comments, either
project.
on
Let us
Instagram or
know if it's a
Patreon.
Golden
Yeah,
Girls or Golden Palace. Maybe it was
I'm
Empty
sure that
Nest.
it sounds familiar to me too, so I think it happened.
Well, yeah, we definitely talked about Pia Zadora. So Mama tells Eunice, she's like, hey, she's gonna try to like really keep the peace. She doesn't want to deal with bullshit. So Mama's like,
Yeah.
Eunice, don't talk about Ellen, Betty White's husband, having an affair with his secretary. She goes to
Mm-hmm.
Vinton. Mama's like, Vinton, don't tell Eunice I gave you your dad's sapphire ring because Eunice wants it. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, when Mama was saying this stuff, I was like, oh no, as we know in multicams,
Yep.
as the hooker with the heart of gold said on The Office, secret secrets are no fun. Secret secrets hurt someone.
What a good quote. What a good quote. There was a great moment after this, though, that I do want to bring up because so we meet for the first time, I believe the first time we haven't watched the original episode. So we meet Harvey Korman in this episode, who is playing Carol Burnett's husband. And
Oh boy.
what?
Oh, are we going to talk about the same scene?
Maybe the kitchen scene with Naomi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
awkward. It's uncomfortable. Well, I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable, but it is awkward. There is something there is something about how the two of them played this off because like okay, so in the scene basically Naomi brings or meets Harvey Korman in the kitchen, and essentially because she doesn't have a father, she asks if Harvey will give her away at the wedding. A very sweet gesture. Now, in the exchange, there is a way in which Naomi kisses Harvey, and it's on the mouth, and so there
Yeah.
it feels a little borderline inappropriate for a future sister-in-law to be kissing her brother-in-law sort of situation, although it wouldn't be illegal. And Harvey is
I
like,
mean, Dorothy made out with Ted, so
yeah, yeah, it's
it's her
fine. But
ex-brother-in-law.
the way Harvey slowly gets flustered and gets sort of like realizes that this is an attractive woman in front of him, and whatever, she's reacting and speaking in the way that she's speaking. I laughed out loud in the way that he was like, instead of like giving her a tap on the shoulder or like a handshake, he does this thing where he like grabs her arms and just sort of like taps her arms like this, and it's just sort of shakes her a little bit, and she's not objecting to this at all. And but you can tell he's just like, I just want to touch you for that kiss. Like, it's so uncomfortable, but yet funny, you know?
I know. I was torn because I was like, she went in for a kiss on the lips.
Yeah, yeah,
He didn't consent to
yeah.
that. And then she
No, he
didn't
did not.
consent to his weird touching. And I
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah.
I
It
didn't,
was. I mean, I don't think we need to make a capital case of it. I don't think it was that
no.
that 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 horrible of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly they both were having their own little moments, and the intent of the scene was to show that Naomi can be a person who maybe is a little bit overly touching and open in the
Mm-hmm.
ways in which she communicates, and Harvey is probably not used to that very much, and so he
Yeah.
responds in a way that he feels is, because he didn't do it in necessarily an inappropriate way, and he didn't kiss her back, which I think would have been a very different
Mm-hmm.
situation. But I thought this scene was great, and it really shows that there's a few moments in this episode that really show how brilliant Harvey Korman actually is. Like, he is
Mm-hmm.
such a funny, and he can convey so much in just like a touch, you know?
I'm with you in that. Like, I don't want to harp on it, and it was funny, and the only part of this scene that I wrote in my notes, I just wrote Naomi and Eunice's husband. Creepy? Question mark. So yeah, I think we're both a little bit on the fence about like, was it? I can't tell. And
Yeah.
then poor Eunice, like
Oh, poor Eunice.
poor Eunice. All she just wants to sing in the wedding. She
She's
just wants
out
to sing in the
there.
wedding. No one wants her to sing in the wedding.
Well, no, it's not even so much that no one wants her to. No one cares. Like,
Yeah, I guess that's
no,
even worse.
it's worse than not wanting her to. It's just that they just know. No, what? No, no. Like,
And
and she goes out into the oh god, the porch where Vinton is, to try to, like, I guess, woo him. And apparently when they were kids, she made him be Tinkerbell one year or something like that. I mean,
yeah.
which, it sounds funny. Um, but even
I mean,
then
you know
he's
my story about when I played Tinkerbell. We've
oh,
talked
that's right,
about
I
that.
do.
Somebody fucked in my
Yes.
clock. Yeah, no, we remember that.
Wow. Somebody fucked in
Yeah,
my
I've told this
clock.
story before.
Wait, somebody fucked in my clock. The autobiography of Tinkerbell would be a great
No, Tinkerdell sounds funnier.
Tinkerdell. I know. Y'all, we need to say up top, we've had a week.
We've
Today's
had a week.
episode, and the Rusty Anchor happy hour afterwards is going to be a hot mess. So
Yeah,
please
today's
enjoy the
episode is
ride.
brought to you by head colds and lack of sleep and anxiety and what else? Throw some more on there.
Oh, lost packages, Botox, traffic from earlier, stress about an article I have to finish tonight, like all kinds of things. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Financial security, like
Financial security, yeah,
pick a
insurance,
lane.
debt, yeah. No, so so Eunice goes to the porch to try to convince Vin is just sort of like, you gotta talk to Naomi, and that, which makes her flustered even more, because she's all like, get a backbone, man, let me sing at your wedding, Tinkerbell.
It's so good.
It's so
She's
so
so funny.
good.
And then she does go to Naomi, and Naomi is just trying to get ready for her wedding, and it reminds me of Blanche sitting in her bedroom getting ready for her wedding. And
Hmm.
and she finally convinces Naomi. And the way Naomi sees it, she's like, "Okay, look, I'm about to marry the man I love, and we're going to move far away from this family. So if singing at my
Hmm.
wedding means that much to you, like, fuck it, knock yourself out, sister." And then
Yeah.
Eunice gives Naomi the most aggressive happy hug.
Yeah.
Eunice is on top of the world in this moment
It's all she wanted. It's all she wanted. Yeah.
until she learns that Mama gave Vinton the sapphire ring. So now
And the way
Eunice
she
has been given the opportunity to sing, but now she's angry and she starts to drink.
and she does this well even before she starts to drink, the end bit in this scene where she says something like old woman, or like she says, like she literally like it almost like she does that whole, like, you know, that bit where in comedy where like you bite your hand and you're like, oh, I oughta, you know, like the Three Stooges bit. Carol Burnett kind of did that with old woman, like to nobody in the room, to literally nobody in the room. So funny. And it sets up a perfect second act, I guess, for this episode where Eunice goes off the rails. And we will get to that right after this break. See what I did there? It's like I set it up so that something exciting is about to come.
That was really good.
Thank you. I'm a professional. We've been doing this for 10 years.
And we are back talking about Mama's Family, the wedding part 2. Before we jump into Eunice's wedding performance, I do want to play the moment when Betty White, aka Ellen, shows up. And she's in the last episode, she was distressed.
Yes.
She suspected her husband was cheating on her. Eunice was like, he's sleeping with his secretary. And she was not in a great mood. And now she's in a much happier mood. And we find out why very quickly.
My, I should say, Ellen, you could be the bride.
Well, thank you, Mama. Today I feel like a bride. Last night, Bruce and I really communicated for the very first time. Our marriage is more wonderful than it's ever been.
Oh, really? I don't see Mr. Wonderful. Where is he?
Oh, well, he couldn't make it. He's still at the Cadillac dealership closing the deal on my new Seville.
What? Bruce bought you a new Cadillac?
It's right outside. Parked next to that old abandoned wreck.
That abandoned wreck is our car.
My mistake.
Boy, that is some machine. What did Bruce have to give up for that?
His secretary.
It is so good.
Could you stay in a relationship like that where you knew that your significant other was like messing around on you, but you could just be like, I'll forget it as long as you buy me something like a car?
There's a great podcast that Michael is obsessed with that I'm friends with them, but it's called Feelings, I think. And Grace she's a really funny comedian, funny comedian. I cannot say her last name, but and they posed a question to each other, where she said, or he said, I forget the co-host. He said the question was, would you rather have sex for the rest of your life or make out or something, and like with someone? And then she responded being like, well, can you masturbate? And then which kind of sent the whole question being like, oh, well, I guess that would make things different, you know, because if you could, you know, yeah. And then she goes into a bit being like, please, can I masturbate? Can I masturbate? Please. It just was funny. So in that situation, I mean, if we were committed to each other and committed in the sense that, like, you know, we were a partnership, however that is defined is up to the actual partnership. But if we were a partnership and they were able to provide me in the lifestyle in which I feel like I have to be accustomed to, then I'd be okay with it, only if I can masturbate.
Okay. All right.
What about you?
I don't think I could.
Yeah.
I think I would end up bringing it up constantly and using it as like a
Really?
dig. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I don't think I could. I don't. Yeah,
some
it's just
people
not
need
for
that.
me. I mean, not knocking those types of relationships where it works. It's just I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, guys, let us know if you could do it in the comments or on
Let
Patreon.
us know.
Let us know your intimate responses to this question
Yes.
that we're pondering.
And tell us your social security numbers.
I would
and
love if someone randomly just posted on an Instagram comment. I think I could if I could masturbate. Yeah, I think I could. And have
Just
no
like
relevance to the
on
post.
one of our clips of like Estelle Getty on Rosie O'Donnell. Just what?
That would be so funny, and I would love that. Please do it.
Mama's house
Mhm.
and the decorations and what everybody was wearing, it very much took me back. I know we're in the 70s here, but it took me back to a childhood
80s.
in the it was 80s. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the 80s. Naomi's wedding dress, the way everybody was kind of dressed, but her wedding dress, the yellow, it was
That was another
Easter in
note
the
I made.
80s.
That was another note I made. Naomi's wedding dress is next level. Well, we aren't there. We haven't seen Naomi yet because there's a great moment with Rue and the preacher that we need to talk about before we get to Naomi's wedding dress.
Sure.
Yes. This conversation that Fran, Rue McClanahan's character, has with the preacher, who was on 2 episodes of the Golden Girls, I believe.
Earl Bowen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he was in
As a priest, as a pastor, right?
Both as a priest in the final episode as the priest, and then also when was it a funeral episode? I think it was.
Do you
looking. Remember?
Everybody's yelling us through the phone right now.
No, it's fine because we're gonna play the clip of this moment while we look that up. However, this conversation that the two of them had, these two characters had, was kind of weird. Let's just play it and then we'll talk about it more on the other side.
So they have decided to write their own vows. I suppose you must run into that a lot nowadays.
I've seen it all.
Though the idea of a vow of any kind does strike me as passé. Not to insult you or your profession.
Oh, you couldn't insult me even if you tried. Because the words that come out of your mouth, think about it. Who put them there? Think about it.
I will.
And then she just walks away, and it was weird to me. It didn't make sense to me.
I wanted to play that moment because it felt like the sliding doors version of Blanche's conversation with Father Frank Leahy at the door. When she's so uncomfortable because she's so naughty and she's, fumbling over her words. I thought it was a fun juxtaposition to have this still an awkward conversation between a Rue McClanahan character and a priest or a pastor, but in kind of a different way, where I just thought he was like kind of a character and she didn't quite know how to, and she's being very polite, but it's clear that she's, I think, a little confused by him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well, he was also just kind of creepy in a way too, like even just the way he talked and stuff. But maybe that's just, I mean, I don't have much experience with preachers and stuff, I have to admit. So maybe that's just how preachers talk, maybe.
Well, to go back to the Golden Girls, so he was the priest in Ebb Tide's Revenge at Phil's funeral.
Phil's funeral, yes. And he was in the Golden Palace too.
Was he in the Golden Palace?
He was he was there as a priest in the Golden Palace.
Oh, okay. So, I think he was on the Golden Palace. I'm so sorry that we didn't come. He was in One Flew Out of the Cuckoo's Nest. You're right. And I think also on the Golden Palace.
Yeah. What a great character actor. He's done so much. And he did a few episodes of The Mama's Family, if I remember correctly.
Well, it looks like he's also played a clergyman in The Golden Girls, The Golden Palace, The Wonder Years, Boy Meets World, Seinfeld, and Three's Company. So that sort of became the thing he was known for. I feel bad for other actors going
just
out
has
for
that
guest star
vibe, you
roles as
know?
a clergyman, and then you just see Earl Bowen in the waiting room, and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. No, but that bit was so now Naomi walks down to get married and she has on this beautiful yellow dress. It is so perfect. It is so Sadie. It is so everything that I would wear. It is a perfect 1980s dress for a woman who is on her third husband or something. Like it is
Yeah,
perfect.
it was really fun. Like I said, it reminded me of Easter, going to my grandma's house, having a ham dinner with
Mhm.
the speared pineapple and cherries, on a plate. It was so fun.
I also just wanted to like mention, even though this happened a little bit before she walked down, but just talking about I mean, we're going to get to the brilliance of Carol Burnett in a second because she has an incredible moment at this wedding. But before we get to that, there was a moment in which she's angry, of course. We find out she comes downstairs and she's angry at Mama and she's angry at Ellen still. And so she sits down on the couch and she sits on one end and is near Mama, so she gets angry. So she swishes over to the other end and is near Ellen. She's pissed about that. So then she just sits in the middle awkwardly alone with her legs kind of
Like a
like funnily
frumpy, pissed
spread
off
in.
teenager.
It made me laugh so hard. But the real laughter comes after Naomi and Vinton exchange
Okay,
vows in an absurd way where Naomi's are like an hour long and Vinton says
I have it written
something
down.
that is so funny.
It made me
It
laugh.
is so funny. I laughed
I
so
laughed too. I
hard.
paused it. I wanted to watch it again. He goes, I promise to stay with you for as long as we both think it's a good idea.
It is such a funny line.
And so
It is so
honest.
funny
And so
because
honest. We need to
it's
talk
so
about these things.
so honest and so
We need to talk
real.
about these things.
It was
Prenups are
so
okay, everybody. It
funny.
doesn't mean that you don't love your significant otro. It's just,
Well, it also just came after like Naomi's
yeah.
incredibly long vows. And so it was just the timing was just it was just great writing for a sitcom
Also,
in this moment, you know?
okay, so during the ceremony, they did a time jump, and I
Mhm.
thought I thought I was
Yes.
like, oh, I'm about to pass out and faint because everything suddenly became blurry. Because as the priest is
Well, yeah,
talking,
that
the
was weird
picture
because
fully went out of focus for a
yes.
few seconds, and then it did like a
I know
fade
it seemed like
ripple wipe into a little bit
well,
later.
because it seemed like they were doing a flashback. It seemed like they were doing either a flashback or like a not a transition in time. And I think us as like modern day television viewers, we're so used to like quick cuts and all this stuff. Whereas, and if this was modern day, that would have just been a quick
No,
cut
but
or
here's the
something.
thing.
Or they would have put on like an eternity later or something. Like they would have done something to
Here's
indicate
the
time
thing.
passage.
I'm used to this. I feel like they've done this on the Golden Girls. All they do usually is like a cross dissolve from one scene to the next. But
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
went out of focus for like 5 seconds
I know.
and then rippled to a
But
new
also,
scene. That was weird.
I don't think they were doing the cross resolve back in the early 80s. I think that might have been something that like came about later. Cause I mean, I can't even think of like I'm trying to think of I Love Lucy episodes where they did stuff like that. And they didn't really do
Well,
that. You know what I mean? So like
in the
maybe
words of Eunice, probably, well, they should have. I could
it's
watch
true.
her act
It's true. Can
forever.
we get to Eunice? Because this moment is so good. So good. Carol Burnett in this moment.
Yeah,
Oh
let's
my
play
God.
it.
Okay. Well, you
Oh,
want to
well,
just
we
play
can
it
talk
first or
about it.
should we
Okay, let's
set
talk
it up?
about it.
Let's
Let's talk
set it
about
up.
it.
So
They pronounce them man and wife.
so
It's time for Eunice to sing.
yes.
She's been drinking. She's pissed.
Yeah.
Um, Mama says, "Sing or get off the pot," which made me laugh. And then
Yes. Yeah.
I would describe Eunice's singing as less like singing and more like Southern slam poetry.
Well, it starts off. What is so funny about it is it starts off as her singing angrily as Rue sits there, as Fran sits there on the piano and plays the piano. And then the song quickly shifts to a spoken word performance / speech while Fran continues to play. The direction of Rue McClanahan continuing to play the piano is actually one of the perfect jokes in the episode, because when Eunice's song turns into a wedding speech / takedown, it the music behind it just reinforces how brilliant this whole moment
I'm
actually
literally
is.
getting goosebumps right now thinking about how funny this was. Let's
Should we just
play a little
play?
bit of it. But we highly recommend you watch the entire episode on Pluto.
The most sacred promise of them all is the promise that our mama is to her daughter. That is a promise that is written in blood.
Get a grip on yourself, Eunice, or I'll kill you.
Looks like you write all of your promises in disappearing ink, old lady.
A promise that a
can't
mama
with how
gives to her daughter, written in blood.
I mean, how many the fact that she's drunk, she's bitter, she's angry, and also we throw in a little bit of the physical comedy because she's going down the room as if it's like a beautiful courtroom scene from A Time to Kill or something, where she's single-handedly taking out each person with her Marsha Clark-isms, and she doesn't care if the glove don't fit, and she gets to her point, her ultimate point, where she has to take down Mama, and Harvey Korman then just comes. And Harvey Korman is massive. He's a massive human being. And he picks up this very tiny Carol Burnett and just puts her right over his shoulder, literally like it's a handbag. And she's leaning over with her face out. He turns around one way and she turns him around another way. So she gets the last word. And they're all just lined up just to listen and watch Eunice leave in this epic way as Harvey Korman just like carries her out. It is so good. It is such a great
It's so
episode.
good. I loved how Vicki Lawrence did not break eye contact when she's staring at Eunice and
Not
she
once.
goes, "Get a grip on yourself, Eunice, or I'll kill you." It was the delivery was
It is
so funny. It was so funny.
How they did not break character. I mean, I honestly don't get how they
I
got
mean,
through this
they
episode.
could have
I
had
really don't.
moments where they were laughing and they had to like literally get a grip on themselves. Did you notice that? So the blow to this scene, everybody's screaming at each other. Like you said, Eunice is carried out by her husband, and a wedding guest who was a little distracting because she
Yes.
clearly had old lady hair and makeup on. She wasn't an older woman. She looks over and she's like, "Is this
Yeah.
the line for the food?" And one, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that they gave a guest star with one line the blow to the scene when you have all these heavyweight hitters. You have Carol Burnett, who could have stuck her head back in the door. Give Vicki Lawrence, give any of them, Betty White, Rue McClanahan, the blow to the scene, but they give it to this random woman who had this one line.
Well, she's not just a random woman.
Am I about to learn something about the Mama's Family universe?
Yes, you are about to learn something
Who
about
is
the
it?
Mama's Family universe. So that woman is played by Dorothy Van, and Dorothy Van is she was an actress. She did a few things, but she was primarily a writer and a story editor for shows like Punky Brewster,
she was
Mama's
one of the
Family primarily.
writers.
She did Major Dad, Silver Spoons, and she she worked as a writer on Mama's Family. So
that
she
was like a
sort of
winky
like,
thing.
she's Aunt Effie. That's who she was. She was Aunt Effie, and she was in a few episodes. I actually thought she was on the Golden Girls or something, just because they had so many great character parts for older actors. But she wasn't really an actor. She was just a writer who acted some, and she had great presence. But really, she was
Okay, all
Dorothy Van.
right. She was a writer.
Don't you love that? Don't you love that they gave a writer
Mhm.
this little bit who probably came up with some of the brilliant ideas on this episode? I don't know if she worked on Carol Burnett or what her connection is to that universe, but she obviously played an important part, because for a female writer to have she was just a writer on the episode. So like, to me, that's kind of awesome that she's the
Can
original
I
Mindy
say
Kaling.
that I too have been both a writer and was able to weasel my way into a role on a television show that I was working on. When I was on the Goldbergs, when I was a writer's assistant, I got to play my husband. I got to play Stan's prom date, but then I think they cut the scene from the episode, so I didn't make it in. But I have fun, like 80s prom pictures from that episode, which I will show on the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. There, one more thing I'm going to add. I will show photos of Stan and I from the Goldbergs in my 80s prom dress that I brought myself. And then I wrote on a show. I wrote on a show called Hollywood Darlings. This is my last one. And I got to the showrunner was so great. She knew there was like 3 writers, and we were all like performers. And she was like, write yourself into any episode. I don't care. So I got to be in the first episode where I got to play a fan at a coffee shop that like fangirls over Jodie Sweetin, Stephanie Tanner from Full House, and Beverly Mitchell, who played Lucy on Seventh Heaven, and Christine Lakin, who played Al on Step by Step. And I got to like nerd out over the 3 of them. And that was my character. Anyway, so now I feel really bad that I called her a random extra when she was just a writer trying to have a good time and be in front of the camera sometimes, like I was.
Oh, she had a good time. I mean, the rest of this episode is just kind of it plays out as it would that Vinton and Naomi and the kids go off to their Arizona trailer park that they're going to manage and live at and everything. And then, of course, Fran and Mama are happy that everyone's out of the house, and they make and Fran is especially happy that all these kids are gone and everyone's gone, because now that's just her and Mama, and they could like have peace and quiet. She's like, listen, it's quiet. And then Fran goes, I'm gonna go make us a cup of coffee, and Mama goes, a small cup of coffee, which is, I love that, a pot of coffee. And then as she does that, Vinton and Naomi and the kids come traipsing back in, because this man in Arizona took all their money, and they don't have a home, and there was no place for them to live in Arizona. And where are they going to stay?
I
where
know.
Are they gonna live?
And Fran is so
at Mama's house,
because she's like, she was so looking forward to having a bathroom, because the whole episode she's just trying to get ready in a bathroom.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I would not be happy about that situation. But also, too, Fran, you work for the local paper. Go rent a room somewhere. Have your privacy. Go visit your sister when for dinner. Walk over for dinner or something. I'm sure rent wasn't that expensive in that tiny little town. Just saying. Be independent. Be the Mary Tyler Moore you want to be. Maude would want you to have your own place.
Should we take a break and come back with some golden takeaways?
Yes, we should. And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget. Nuggets, I love nuggets. Which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Kerri, what's your golden takeaway from this episode?
Okay, you do. You
I'm
look
gonna
very
look
cute
while
right
you
now.
do
You
it.
look like you're posing for a school photo. My first golden takeaway is I'm so glad that I watched Mama's Family, because I'm going to keep watching it. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to, I don't know, just keep talking about Mama's Family with you. And my second golden takeaway is, I go back to The Office, that brilliant piece of advice from the sex worker: secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. Surprises are wonderful. They're lovely, but secrets really do hurt people, as an upcoming guest on this podcast who's in the Vanderpump universe knows firsthand. It's great for reality TV, but it hurts people.
You're really pushing that.
What's your golden takeaway?
Wow. Secrets. My golden takeaway from this episode is how appreciative, like I said at the beginning, I am that everyone was as excited about us doing Mama's Family as I was about doing it. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I'm so glad. Now, we're going to take a break from it, obviously. We're not going to do all Mama's Family now. We're going to go back to Golden Girls and stuff. But I'm glad that we've dipped this into the water, and it's infested the waters in such a beautiful, lovely way that now we can have episodes of Mama's Family poke out in the Beyond Golden Girls episodes that we do, which I'm really excited about because it opens us up to do so much more different things with Mama. There's so many great episodes. There's 2 seasons. And you have Carol Burnett too. There's so many options. But my real golden takeaway from this episode is just a little, just throwing out a little love for Dorothy Lyman, who plays Naomi on Mama's Family. Dorothy Lyman went on to have such an impressive career. She was in a great episode of Alf that I still remember to this day, but she really is sort of a journeyman actor in that she just sort of did a lot of really great work, both on television and in independent films. I mean, she was in great films like Ruby in Paradise and like I Love Trouble. Like she was doing she was on a few episodes of Murder, She Wrote, if I remember correctly. She was even in a few episodes of The Nanny. Like she did the work and she did great work. Battlestar Galactica, she was in an episode of. Dorothy Lyman, she's not just, I only saw her as Naomi and sort of like a flighty, cutesy, airhead, sort of beautiful woman. That woman is an actress with a skull in her hand going, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo," or whatever they say.
Or is it Macbeth? It's Hamlet,
Sure.
right? With the skull?
That. I don't know. We should call up Judi Dench. Let me see if she's available. Nope, she's not. She's very busy. Her Oscar is blocking her view of the phone.
I think it's Hamlet.
Is it Hamlet?
I'm
Ooh,
hungry
I could go for
too.
a ham sandwich.
All right, let's go get something to eat. Everyone, this has been another episode of Out on the Lanai. Thank you all so much for listening. And remember, you can check out the GG VIP Club over at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. And this episode, the video of it will be on YouTube the Monday after this drops on Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, drops on Monday. Check it out on YouTube. Just find us Out on the Lanai.
And if you're watching this on the YouTubes or on Patreon, you're seeing me use my double chin as a nice little pillow. Look at that. It's like a neck pillow. There we go. Guys, we are part of Mom Moguls of Media, so go support Mom Plus. So many good things there. Also, you can follow us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Les Tuteurs, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on Face Novel, not a book, novel. And I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines
on Instagram
everything.
and Squid Eat Squid on Twitter. And if you also want to do something nice for the podcast, you can leave us a rating or review wherever you get this podcast. Say nice things. We're very delicate people over here.
I'm not. You can call me a bitch any day.
As always.
But remember,
stay golden.
Stay golden. Oh.
Don't waste your time on me.
Bitch,
You're
in a loving, good way.
the voice inside my head.
Blink 182 naked.
I know.
I'm Googling that.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.